countless people tell me that they've always wanted to learn how to surf, but they never got around to it. If you're one of those people, or someone who has had a difficult time starting out, you've come to the right place. In this video, we'll be talking waves, boards, tips, and most importantly, we'll be having a good time. I'm going to show you everything you need to know to start surfing. Surfing can be one of the most challenging activities to learn how to do, let alone get good at. I've been surfing for over 20 years, and on a scale of 1 to 10, I feel like I land somewhere in the 6 to maybe the 7 range on a good day. In other words, don't expect to start getting barreled the first time you paddle out. But if you put in some time combined with the information I'm about to share, you'll fast track your way out of the kook zone and be on your way to becoming an actual surfer in a much shorter amount of time than figuring it out as you go. I've also broken this video up into labeled sections so you can better track down any specific information that you're looking for. Let's get into it. Before you go out and buy a bunch of surf gear, you need to know the basics of surfing. Let's start with waves. In a nutshell, in order to surf waves, we require swell. Swells can hit from a variety of directions, such as a north swell, south swell, west, south-southwest, etc. Different beaches and surf spots are affected by the different swell directions depending on what direction the beach is facing. Many breaks favor one particular swell direction, so it's important to note what swell directions made the waves good at your favorite spots. That way, you can save hours checking surf spots all morning and know exactly where to go to find good waves. That brings us to the swell interval. You'll usually see this paired with a swell direction, such as south-southwest, 3 foot at 16 seconds. Generally speaking, the longer the interval is, the bigger the waves will be. It's very much like an iceberg. The 3 feet refers to the swell that shows above the surface, but the long interval time reflects how deep under the surface the swell moves. So when the swell gets close to shore, all that water moves upward, making that 3 foot swell at 16 seconds into a possible 8 foot wave, where a 3 foot swell at 8 seconds could just stay around 3 to 4 feet. Keep in mind, just because the waves are bigger doesn't always mean they're better. A good wave is subjective, but ideally you want waves that allow you to ride on the open face. You can either go left or right on waves, but this is opposite of how it looks from the shore. A right breaks to the right when you're out in the water looking at the shore, and vice versa for a left. Waves that break quickly into white water with no open face are called closeouts, or walled conditions, which are not ideal. If you're a beginner, it's best to start surfing spots that break slower to get the hang of things, kind of like the bunny slope with skiing and snowboarding. The nice part of today's world is that there are many websites with daily surf forecasts and live camera feeds available to check the waves in your local area, the most popular being surfline.com. While these are super helpful and convenient, my advice would be not to rely too heavily on it. There's been days where I scored waves where it said 1 foot on the forecast and it ended up being a solid 3 to 4 foot with nobody out. Let's talk surfboards. Surfboards are measured by length, width, and thickness to give the total board volume. Here's a basic size chart of recommended surfboard volume based on your personal weight in relationship to your surfing skill level. Other factors that'll come into play are your fitness level, the types of waves you'll be riding, and your desired riding style. There are many different types of surfboards out there, but the 2 main categories are longboards and shortboards. Each type is enjoyable to ride, and I recommend eventually trying both to see what style suits you best. Generally speaking, longer and larger surfboards paddle much faster and can get into waves easier. while shorter surfboards offer more maneuverability. Another bonus of shortboards is the ability to duck dive under waves, making it easier to paddle out on more challenging days. Surfboards then get even more diverse through the various fin and tail options. I won't go into too much detail on these, but as you progress, you can experiment and see what you have the most fun riding for the conditions you usually surf. Another part of the basics is sea life. The most common creatures you'll see when you're out surfing are dolphins, seals, sea turtles, stingrays, and jellyfish. Dolphins will often scare you. Don't touch sea turtles, don't bark at seals, and shuffle your feet in the sand when walking in shallow water to avoid stingrays. For jellyfish, it's best to just avoid them completely if you can. The most feared sea life are obviously sharks. Encountering a shark definitely depends on where in the world you're surfing, but statistically you're more likely to be struck by lightning than attacked by a shark. The most dangerous sea life you'll frequently encounter, however, are other humans. And if you're just learning how to surf, you need to listen up, because the safer you are and the more respectful you are, the surfing world will be a much better place. If you take anything away from this video, remember these next few tips to keep your sessions positive and injury-free. The surfer closest to the peak gets the wave. This means if you want to go left and there's someone else deeper than you also going left, it's their wave. So don't drop in on them. If someone is already standing up on a wave, it's their wave. So if someone else catches the wave further out and then you catch it in a spot deeper than them, don't expect them to kick out. Use your best judgment to avoid getting in someone's way while paddling out. If there's a channel, paddle out there, or try to paddle behind where the surfer is coming from rather than further on the shoulder. Don't ditch your surfboard to go under waves. The only acceptable time to really ditch your surfboard is if you're about to be caught inside by a sizable wave and nobody else out will be hit by your board. The golden rule: treat others the way you want to be treated. Respect goes a long way wherever you surf, and I promise you, if you show respect, you can surf almost anywhere in the world without an issue. If you stay true to these tips, you'll be much more warmly embraced by the surfing community. You'll stay clear of accidental injuries and avoid heated altercations that can sometimes escalate into fights. With all that being said, surfing is one of the most incredible activities you can do. The benefits are both physical and mental, and you can easily get addicted. In order to start surfing successfully, you're going to need the following equipment: a surfboard, fins, a fin key, a leash, surf wax, sunscreen, a towel, and depending on your climate, a wetsuit or bathing suit. Additional accessories that are not totally necessary, but that I still recommend, are earplugs, a wax scraper, a wax remover, booties and a hood for cold water, a board bag unless your board is a soft top, and for shortboards, a traction pad, aka a stomp pad. Before you have a heart attack and think surfing is way too expensive, you can save a lot of money up front by purchasing used equipment. Here's what you can expect to pay for everything if you went the used route. It might take a little longer to acquire, but you'll notice a huge drop in price. If you had to pick one item to buy used starting off, I would say the surfboard. Buying the surfboard used off Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, or another selling app will save the most amount of money, and you can still find plenty of boards in great condition. Also, you may be upgrading sooner than you think, so why go and spend the money on a brand new board right away? One company that I really like in the San Diego area is Surfboard Broker. They're not affiliated with this video, but through them I've bought used boards in amazing condition for less than half of what they would have cost brand new. They even will let you trade in old boards for credit to upgrade to your next board. The last thing I'll say about buying the equipment is to shop local as much as possible. Sure, you can get wax and things off Amazon, but it's always best to support your local surf shops, even when traveling. They'll be stoked on your business, and in my experience, be happy to answer any questions you may have. In order to further demonstrate some tips to get started surfing, we're meeting up with my friend Duran Barr.
What's up, boys?
Duran is a pro surfer based out of North County, San Diego. Comes from a family of pro surfers and absolutely charges in the heaviest conditions. Duran also owns his own surf school, North County Surf Academy, so I couldn't think of a more qualified person to give us some tips.
One of the most important things to start with surf lessons, for sure, people learning to surf, is equipment. So always making sure that they're on the right board. Depending on their body type, if they're athletic, if they're big, they're small, they're obviously going to be on a different type of board. So we have a few different boards here. So that's an 8-foot board. That would be someone maybe about your size, Zach, you know, maybe under 150 pounds, at least to start, to get on their first day. Again, you want to be able to lay on your board. You want that stability. You want to be able to paddle. You don't want to be just tipping and falling your whole time, because a board without having any experience is going to be hard to balance on. You're going to be trying to find the center point. You're going to be wobbly, so it's going to take a bit of time, and if you're on the wrong board, then it's going to be 10 times harder.
Yeah.
So really, when you're teaching people to surf, and you know this, being a surfer, the hardest thing about surfing is actually being able to read the ocean. You know, so being able to see the waves and judge the waves, your positioning and your timing, knowing am I too far out, knowing am I too far in, when to paddle and when to stand up for the wave. So that's really the hardest part about surfing, is reading the ocean. So again, having someone help you, having a surf lesson or whatever, someone that has that knowledge, saying here comes a wave, helping you with your positioning, helping you with your timing.
Totally, yeah.
Once you actually, hopefully you're in the right spot, or you have somebody helping you, or you've done a little research or whatever it is, then it's actually paddling for the wave, catching the wave, and standing up on the wave. So there's a few different ways of standing up. You've seen the more experienced surfers, they do what's called a pop-up, okay? Always laying on your board, nice and centered down this center stringer line. You kind of want your toes right off the back edge of the board. You want to be nice and level, okay? You don't want to be too far back. You'll sort of be doing a wheelie, okay? Too far forward, you'll be digging the nose. So again, nice and centered. Here comes that wave. When you see the wave coming, you want to start your paddle, one arm over the other, a nice, smooth, strong paddle to get your speed and your momentum up to the speed of the wave. When you feel that wave coming behind you, starting to pick you up, that's when you want to start moving forward with standing up, okay? So like I said, there's a few different ways of standing up. If you see the more experienced surfers that have the control, they have the strength, they do what's called a pop-up, okay? Which is a paddle, 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 pop up straight to your feet. Like I said, that takes a lot more strength, a lot more balance, and is a bit more difficult, all right? So being a first timer or very beginner, we're gonna recommend that you just do it a little bit slower, a little bit easier, kind of one step at a time. So again, we're gonna get you out there. Usually you'll be starting in the white water for being your first time. So shallow water, head out. When you see a wave coming or somebody's helping you, they're gonna turn you around. They're gonna tell you to start paddling for that wave, okay? So this is for the little bit slower, little bit easier pop-up. So when you see that wave coming, paddle one arm over the other, a nice smooth strong paddle to get your speed and your momentum up to the speed of the wave. When you feel that wave starting to pick you up and starting to push you, grab on right underneath your shoulders, push your chest up, and bring your knees right under your hips, all right? Stay holding on to the rails or the side of the board. Bring your front foot right between your hands, then pop, pivot, nice wide stance, bending your knees, looking forward where you're going with a low center of gravity. Always want to be looking where you're going, okay? Your body is going to follow where you're looking. So if you're looking down at your toes, probably going to fall right forward. So looking where you want to draw your line. You're going to paddle one arm over the other, a nice, smooth, strong paddle to get your speed to the speed of the wave. When you feel that wave pushing you, grab under your shoulders, chest up to your knees, bring that front foot between your hands, then push, pivot, and stand all the way up. Want to have a nice wide stance, bending your knees, looking forward where you're going, maybe with a little style.
sick.
Well, perfect.
Dude,
I hope that helps.
Thank you so much.
Get
for
people
showing
on the
us.
right foot. If you guys ever need a lesson, North
we know
County
where to go.
Surf Academy, Oceanside.
You heard it from the master. And while on that note, taking surf lessons is an extremely good way to fast track your surfing abilities. One of my biggest regrets is not doing this myself at the start, because all my friends who did accomplished in 1 year what took me 5+ years. It's almost like compound interest. I find myself still having to break bad habits that I formed from learning everything on my own. Even if you're at the intermediate and advanced level, having coaching from a qualified professional can keep you from plateauing and push you to the next level. Now that you're all geared up, you might be wondering about some of the extra little things, like how to wax your board. If you have an old coat of wax on the board, first scrape it off using a wax scraper and follow up with a wax remover. I use the pickle wax remover and it works amazing. Once your board is clear of the old wax, it's time to throw on a fresh coat. I like to use a layer of base coat unless I'm using warm water or tropical wax. Some people get super fancy and have a waxing ritual, but I've always done fast circular movements, applying very light pressure. After a little while, there will be a bunch of small bumps forming on your board. The longer you apply, the larger the bumps will get. I like to try and keep them no larger than about 1/8 of an inch or so. After the base coat is applied, I follow up with a top coat of wax with the correct water temperature. Each bar of wax will have a temperature range that it's optimal for. Then I throw on a thin layer of the top coat using the same technique and it's good to go. Another small thing is your leash. When you buy a leash, they usually come with a small string, which is how it will attach to your board. This should be tied in an overhand circle knot so that the string makes a circle with a knot at the end. This is then looped through the leash plug on your board and looping it back through the circle with the knot end down. Then the leash just velcros onto the string and attaches to the ankle of your back foot.
All right, good morning. It is 6:45 in the morning, and I just wanted to take you through kind of a day in the life of an average surf session. So we're starting early. We're gonna load up the car. Basically what we're gonna grab today is just wetsuit and board and towel, and we're good to go. The wetsuit is here. Definitely still wet from yesterday. Another thing about wetsuits is they're measured in different thicknesses. So this is actually a 4.3. I'm a baby, I like to be warm. It's probably one of the thickest wetsuits. There are full suits that you'd wear in the winter around here, but I just got a brand new one, so I'm gonna rock that one down. Got the board. I like to use just like a little basket just to hold all the miscellaneous stuff, leash, wax, sunscreen, even my wetsuit once it's all wet. And we're all loaded up, so let's head to the beach. All right, so we're almost to the beach. We're just gonna check the waves. I already kind of know where I'm going just from where I went yesterday. Also, it's the same swell, it's just kind of the tail end of it. So the conditions should be somewhat similar, but you never know. That's why you would check. But again, we're out early because the tide as well is going higher to a very high tide. So that's one of the things is, you know, you have not just swell, but you have tides, you have wind, you have crowd. There's a lot of factors that can change up a surf session. All right, it's small, but there's somewhat of a wave over here, so we're just gonna go for it. All right, so we're here at the beach, but you might notice I'm not wearing my wetsuit yet. So that's because you typically suit up once you're down at the beach. So I've got my towel to change in so I'm not naked down here. I've got my wetsuit, it's still wet from the night before. It's cold, it's always a struggle to put it on, but we're gonna suck it up and put it on here. In the summertime, you can kind of just get away with wearing your board shorts to the beach if it's warm enough, depending on where you are. But it is kind of a kookier thing to just show up wearing your wetsuit while you're driving and then just walk out. So unless you're, you know, I guess maybe if you're in a really cold climate, you could suit up at home, but for the most part, you're gonna see all the typical surfers just suiting up once they're at the beach. It is ice cold.
Mhm.
Friggin'. Do you want to feel this thing?
Yeah.
While I'm suiting up, another good note is hiding your key. So if you have to lock your car, you know, some wetsuits actually have a slot to attach your key to. I have a big electronic key fob for this car, but that means I just have to hide it somewhere else, be creative. So use your imagination. You can hide it under your car, you can hide it in the exhaust pipe, you can hide it in many places, or you can use a towel and bring the towel down to the beach and hide your key in your towel. So there's a lot of different options for it. That's another big important part in case you get down and you're like, what do I do with my key? How do I lock my car? This is a towel change. They make other changing stuff like a poncho. I actually have one, they work great. But because I'm hiding my key at the beach, it's easier for me to just bring a towel. Do your best not to trip and fall, not to expose yourself, embarrass yourself. Ah, it's so cold. So once your towel's on, you just gotta do one leg at a time, just like that. And then once you have both legs, you just work it up this way, pull it up over the groin. Again, it's a lot harder when your wetsuit's soaking wet. And then it's one last push. And then you can ditch the towel. So now that we're all suited up, really the last thing is just putting a little fresh coat of wax on to your board. Just a quick top coat. I mean, you can see it now, like I waxed it recently, but from surfing yesterday, it's kind of taking a little bit of the wax off. So we just want to put a fresh coat on so we have plenty of traction for today's session. I was hoping there would be like some kind of wave, like whatever.
Waited in the wrong line. Later I understood I wasn't fine. I am glad you got the information that you could handle the situation. My bad. My bad. I thought of bringing you flowers, but time flies when you are lovers. I hope you didn't count presents, darling. I'm so high on you, I'm scared of falling. My bad.
One quick tip. Just line yourself up. Ooh, look at that sunrise. Beautiful. One quick tip when you're out here is to always line up with a marker on the beach so you know where to sit for waves. So basically, wherever you're starting to catch waves, take note of it, and then look to the shore. And then wherever you're like, you notice like a building or something, just note that and sit in front of it and you'll keep getting waves there. get the shore break barrel for the finish. Look at this. Marty standing. That was a quick session. I surfed probably about 25, maybe 30 minutes, but I came out here thinking that it was small, that it was gonna be bad, but it ended up being a super fun session. There was like offshore winds and little corners here and there, so you just never know. Most beautiful mornings like this, I feel like, you know, even if the waves are small, it's always worth going out. I always feel better throughout the rest of my day. All right, so we're back at my house, and I'm just gonna show you really quick just some proper wetsuit care to extend the life of your wetsuit, and also just to prevent your wetsuit from smelling really bad. So, I'm back at home. I like to, when I'm at home, just quickly wash it out with the hose, just some fresh water. So, just spraying off the excess sand and kind of getting just a quick rinse through the inside, pouring a little down the suit. And that's pretty good, just a nice quick rinse. And then to hang it up, I like to hang it up just over the middle, folded just like this. So there are ways to hang it up as like a regular hanger hung by the shoulders, but I've always found that over time that kind of wears out the shoulders of the wetsuit. So this has been kind of the best way to extend the life of my wetsuit here. And I usually just hang it up right on my car side mirror. So if you had to go straight to work after surfing, you can do this there too, even without rinsing it first. So you can just throw it right up like that and then check on it maybe at lunch, flip it, and then do it inside out, and then it'll be dry and clean and it won't smell.
Some of my greatest memories are from surfing in the ocean. And if you're someone who's always wanted to try it, just know it's never too late to start. Even if you're just beginning, one wave can change everything for you. What's even better is sharing these experiences with friends or family as well. Whoever you are and whatever your skill level with surfing is, I hope you found this video helpful in some way, and I hope it inspires you to get out there. Be sure to check out some of my other videos, as I'll be exploring other activities and everything you need to know to get started learning them. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and if you have any questions about surfing or comments about any other types of activities that I should check out, be sure to leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching.